In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about the component lifecycle, specifically the mounting and unmounting of a component. So I've got React on the page. I've got the JSX transformer on the page. I'm going to go ahead and get us started with our JSX, and I'm going to create a component. I'm just going to call it app, and it's just going to return a button. And in the on click of that, I'm going to say this.update, and the inner content of that will be this props val. So let's create our update method here, and that is going to, so let's just create new val equals this props val plus 1, and then we'll just do this dot set props. We'll set val to new val. Okay, here in the render function, I'm also going to log out hello world just so we can see that happening. And let's get that actually on the page. So app, we're going to pass it an initial value or initial property of val, and we'll just set that to 0. And I'm going to drop this into a div called panel. Okay, let's check that out. Here's our button. Every time we click it, it says hello world. Okay, so every time we click it, the render method is running over and over and over. So the first one we're going to look at in the component lifecycle is component will mount. And so here, let's just say, here I go. Load that up in the browser. So you can see the component will mount automatically executed right before the render. And if I click on this, you can see that the render method is, running each time that the component renders, but the will mount only ran one time. It never runs again. So the next one is going to be component did mount, and here we'll just log nice place you got here. Take a look at that. So here was our component will mount, then our render, then our did mount. And if I click on this, same thing here, the component will mount and the component did mount each only run one time. Will mount right before the render and did mount right after the render, but then they don't run again. And the last one is going to be component will unmount. So here we'll just say goodbye cruel world. Okay, so to do this, we're going to need a way to mount and unmount this. So I'm going to add so we'll call this render. So this is going to be a method in the global object to render our component, and we'll tie that to a button in a second. And this will be unmount. And here we are going to say react.unmount component at node, and we just pass in the node that we rendered our component into. So to use those, let's see, I'm going to create a button here. It's going to be render, another button. So it's going to be unmount, and then we'll just do an on click equals render, and on click equals unmount. Okay, let's try this out. Reload. So when we render, we've got our will mount, render, and did mount. We click it, we get our render a bunch of times. We unmount, and we get our goodbye cruel world, and the component has been unmounted.